you're thinking about moving to either Austin, Texas or Washington, D.C. So I've lived in both cities and each has its own vibes, perks, and its own level of stress. This isn't just some Google research. I've actually walked these streets, paid these bills, and questioned my life choices in both places. So if you're trying to figure out where to plant your roots, or you just need a deep dive on either, I'm about to break it all down for you. We're gonna be talking crime rates, job markets, taxes, cost of living, and more. And at the end of each section, I'll let you know which city, in my opinion, takes the crown. So let's get into it right after this.
And I can't stop. I won't stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. I'm moving a mile a minute. Hey.
DC is where politics, history, and a whole lot of brunch spots collide. It's the nation's capital, home to over 700,000 people, and if you count the metro area, that number jumps up to around 6.4 million. Over the past few years, DC has been growing sharply. The economy is strong, and the city has a high concentration of highly educated professionals and a thriving tech and startup scene. So whether you're looking to network with ambitious folks or just trying to find a place where you could just fit in any and everywhere, DC has that fast-paced energy. Now, let's talk about Austin, the city that has been stealing headlines and Californians for the past decade. This place is booming. Like, Austin's population sits at about 985,000, with the metro area pushing around 2.3 million. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the US, and the job market is explosive thanks to the tech invasion. Austin has become a mini Silicon Valley minus the state income tax. And despite the rising home prices, the city is still relatively more affordable than other tech hubs. But it's not all business. Austin music scene, food culture, and outdoor lifestyle make it one of the most unique places to live in the South. All right, so now that you know what kind of energy these two cities bring, let's get into what really matters: safety. Because no matter how cool a city is, nobody wants to live somewhere where they gotta look over their shoulder 24/7. And listen, Washington, D.C. is one of the most powerful cities in the world, but let's just say some people take the term street politics a little too seriously. Crime here is high. About 60 out of every 1,000 people will be a victim of crime at some point. Violent crime, which includes things like murder, assault, and robbery, happens to about every 10 people out of 1,000. That's way above the national average, meaning you actually do have to stay sharp. Property crime is even worse. Around 50 out of every 1,000 residents will deal with theft or car break-ins. So don't go leaving your laptop in the front seat thinking it's still gonna be there when you get back. And if you do have a car, I will say treat it like gold, because 10 out of every 1,000 cars get stolen each year. Moral of the story: park in well-lit areas and maybe invest in the club. If you know, you know. But let's be fair, DC is a city of neighborhoods, so areas like Georgetown, Capitol Hill, and the Wharf, they're mostly safe, with well-lit streets, cameras, and a strong police presence. But some spots, especially in Southeast and a part of Northeast, can be very unpredictable. The takeaway is choose your neighborhood wisely and don't act like a lost tourist staring at Google Maps in the middle of the night. Now, Austin, the land of live music, tacos, and slightly fewer crime-induced headaches, crime is lower here. About 39 out of every 1,000 people will experience some form of crime. Violent crime, way better than DC. Only around 5 out of every 1,000 people will experience something like an assault or a robbery, and that's still crime. But compared to DC, it's practically peaceful. Property crime is still an issue, so 34 out of every 1,000 people will have something stolen, so don't get too comfortable leaving your stuff unattended. And if you drive, car theft is a little less common here than DC, with about 7 out of every 1,000 vehicles getting stolen. That's still not great, but hey, at least the odds aren't double digit. Austin has its quirks too. The nightlife areas like 6th Street can get rowdy. You might not get robbed, but you could definitely get into an unsolicited debate about the best beef brisket in Texas. Or worse, be stuck behind a group of drunk people on electric scooters. Also, Austin is a rapidly growing city, which means more people, more cars, and naturally, uptick in crime. It's not a crime-free utopia, but you're less likely to have a serious problem compared to DC. So the winner here, Austin takes this one. Like, the stats don't lie. DC has more crime across the board, especially when it comes to violent offenses. And honestly, I barely ever felt unsafe living in Austin. My biggest worry was the homeless people, which are unpredictable themselves, but they are usually homeless. But look, as always, keep your head on a swivel, no matter where you are, and maybe invest in a solid car alarm just in case. All right, now let's talk about money, because unless you're out here living like Jeff Bezos, your wallet is going to be a factor. So DC is expensive, and I mean, like, you blink and $100 disappear expensive. The median home price around $691,000. The average rent for a 1-bedroom, $2,300 a month. And don't get me started on groceries. Now, the argument is that salaries are also higher, you know, so the median household income is sitting around $85,000. That salary gets swallowed up quick with the cost of food, utilities, and especially transportation. Public transit does help. It's $81 for a Metro Pass, which isn't bad, but if you plan on having your own car, parking alone might send you into financial ruin. Austin, it used to be budget-friendly paradise, and then the tech bros moved in. Now the median home price is around $600,000, and the average rent for a 1-bedroom is around $1,800. So it's still cheaper than DC, but not by a landslide. The good news, utilities are lower, groceries are cheaper, and the gas isn't robbery. And the catch, you need a car. Austin public transit is just not ideal. Unless you live in the downtown core, you are gonna be driving. So that means gas, insurance, and parking add up. But ding, 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 in Texas, there are no state income taxes, which is automatically add money to your take-home pay. So, of course, the winner here is gonna be Austin. But look, it's not the affordable utopia it once was. And because rent don't pay itself, let's talk jobs. So DC is all about government, law, and consulting. If you've ever dreamed of being a political strategist, working at a think tank, or just throwing around the words like bipartisan in a coffee shop, this is your city. Federal jobs alone employ about 30% of the city workforce, although the current administration is changing that dynamic. And private sector gigs in law and policy are lucrative, but they can also be high stress. Average salaries hover around $85,000, which is solid, but that high cost of living eats up a lot of it. Job stability is good if you're in the government, but private sector turnover is common because of the stock market. Austin, it's the Silicon Valley of Texas. Tech jobs are booming with companies like Tesla, Google, and Apple setting up shop. The median income sits at around $75,000, which is lower than DC, but with the slightly lower cost of living and no state income taxes, it kind of balances out. And if you're in the startups, creative industries, or engineering, you will definitely find plenty of opportunities. Plus, the city has a strong entrepreneur culture with lower business taxes, making it easier to start your own thing. So the winner here, Austin wins for the diversity in industries and overall job growth. Now, we're gonna talk about the climate. So DC gives you all 4 seasons, and it does not hold back. Summers are hot and humid, often pushing past 90 degrees with that sticky, oppressive heat that makes you question your life choices. And then there's winter, which can be mild in some years and absolutely brutal in others, with temperatures dropping well below freezing and the occasional snowstorm shutting the city down. For instance, the winter of 2024 in January and February of 2025, the winter was brutal, although it was a 70-degree November. Austin, on the other hand, is just hot, as in triple-digit, melt your face off, why did I live here kind of heat. From June to September, it's like stepping into a convectional oven. But on the flip side, winters are mild, rarely dipping below 40 degrees. Snow, almost non-existent. The downside is Austin has its own set of natural disasters. You got tornadoes, flash floods, and the rare but deadly ice storm that somehow turns the entire city into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. But look, both cities have their beautiful moments. DC in the spring is stunning with cherry blossoms turning the city into a pink wonderland. Austin, on the other hand, has an almost year-round outdoor vibe, perfect for hiking, kayaking, and live music under the stars. So look, the winter here is like, if you love seasons, DC is the move. If you rather sweat than shovel snow, Austin is your spot. And personally, I'm a warm weather person, so I like Austin weather better. All right, now let's talk about where these cities sit on the map and what that means for you. DC is all about the East Coast hustle, so it's perfectly placed if you need to hop around to other major cities. You're about 2 hours away from Philly, 4 hours from New York, and 5 hours from Pittsburgh, and this is all by train. No airport hassle. And if you want to go international, DC airports will get you to Europe in 6 to 7 hours, Miami in 2.5, LA in 5, and even Toronto is just an hour and a half away. You can get anywhere quickly, making DC a solid travel hub. So DC itself, as far as terrain, is mostly flat. You got the Blue Ridge Mountains are just a couple hours away for hiking and skiing. If you want to go to a beach, the Chesapeake Bay is about an hour out, while the Virginia Beach and Ocean City, Maryland are about 3 hours out. And if you are into water activities, the Potomac has kayaking and paddleboarding, but don't expect crystal clear waters. Personally, I usually steer clear, but a boat sometimes is nice. Austin, on the other hand, it sits in Texas Hill Country, which means rolling hills, limestone cliffs, and natural springs. It's not as flat as most people would assume it would be, and honestly, it looks much different than the rest of Texas, which is pretty cool. It's great for outdoor lovers with lakes like Lake Travis, Lake Austin, and Lady Bird Lake, perfect for boating and paddleboarding. Now, beaches is not so much because the closest one is Galveston, which is 3.5 hours away. So travel-wise, Austin is definitely more isolated. There is no quick trains to major cities. Dallas is about 3.5 hours away. Houston is about 2.5 hours, and San Antonio is 1.5 hours. So look, ultimately the amount of time that it would take to drive from Dallas, Texas to Austin, Texas, in that same time, you would go from Washington, DC to New York City, passing through Baltimore, Delaware, Philly, and New Jersey. Now, Austin Airport, it does cover major US cities and flights to places like Louisiana, Florida, California, Colorado, and other beautiful mountainous states are extremely reasonable. But for most international trips, just expect a layover. On the plus side, you can get to Mexico pretty easily. Cancun is like 2.5 hours away, and you could take a trip to the border, which is about a 4.5 hour drive. So honestly, it's easy here. The winner is going to go to DC. The trains, the flights, the ability to get to the rest of the world, including places to ski and beach, are prime. If you just like to be able to jump from city to city with ease, DC is the move. Now, Austin is better for outdoor adventure lovers, but if quick travel matters, DC dominates. All right, last but not least, let's talk about something that truly shapes a city: the people. Washington, D.C. is one of the most diverse cities in the country. We're talking about a population that's 45% Black, 36% white, and 11% Hispanic, and 5% Asian, with a mix of cultures that make the city feel like a melting pot of history, politics, and global influence. You'll hear different languages walking down the street, smell spices from every corner of the world in Adams Morgan, and be invited to cultural festivals you didn't even know existed. The city isn't just about diverse in race, it's a hub for international professionals, students, and diplomats. Whether you're working with someone from Ethiopia, grabbing food from a Salvadorian restaurant, or you're getting schooled on global policy at a bar in DuPont Circle, you're always learning from different perspectives here in DC. Now, Austin, on the other hand, is growing, but it's still overwhelmingly white. About 68% of the population is white, with 33% Hispanic and just under 10% Black. The city is making strides, especially with its expanding tech scene, bringing in people from all over, but it's nowhere near the cultural mix of DC. The diversity is increasing, but you won't find that same depth of international influence, historic Black neighborhoods, or long-standing immigrant communities like you do in the nation's capital. And here's the thing, like, diversity, it isn't just about stats. It's about belonging. And in DC, no matter where you're from, you can find your people. Whether you're deep in the political debates, exploring your creative side, or just looking for a community that understands your background, DC welcomes you exactly as you are. You can always find a group where you fit in, whether it's through culture, career, or just shared experiences. Plus, let's just be real. Learning from different cultures and backgrounds isn't just a nice to have, it's a game changer. Whether it's expanding your perspective, building connections, or just realizing how much you don't know, diversity pushes you to grow. You gain knowledge from people who see the world differently, and that it's just priceless. So the winner here, of course, DC easily. This city thrives on diversity, and it's one of its biggest strengths. So there you have it, the battle between Austin and DC. It's a tough one, and honestly, it all depends on what you're looking for. If you're after history, career prestige, and an East Coast experience, DC has a lot to offer. But if you're looking for a lower cost of living, a booming tech scene, and a more laid-back vibe, Austin might be the move. At the end of the day, both cities bring something unique to the table. The real question is, which city is calling your name? Drop a comment below and let me know which one you would choose. And before you go, please don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. It really helps the channel grow. Also, please subscribe and turn on those notifications because I drop new videos every week with city comparisons, travel tips, and everything you need to know before making your next big move. So don't miss out on more great content. So thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.